Hello, I'm Shasta Quinn with the Orange County Library System, and we're here today at the Hiawassee branch in Pine Hills, Orlando, Florida. It is January 9th, 2013, and we're capturing the memories of our community. Can you please tell us your name and where you're from?
Yes, my name is Lana Walker Stoffer. My family relocated to Orlando in 1953 from Sullivan, Indiana, a small farming community south of Terre Haute, Indiana. Biggest building I ever saw in my life was when I went to Memorial Junior High School, and it was 3 stories high. I was very mesmerized. Now, do you want me to just lead into what I know about Pine Hills? There were no middle schools here in Pine Hills at that time. Only Pine Hill, or there were no schools actually, or high schools. Only Pine Hills Elementary off Hastings, and Pine Hills was established by Gordon Barnett. A local park was named after him, Barnett Park. Lots of the homes were built by contractor Nazarella Jennings. Our home on Hastings abutted nothing but woods to the west of us, and it wasn't unusual to have Florida bobcats in our garbage cans, and that was a little scary sometimes when you go out in the morning to take garbage out. Students were bused from Pine Hills area to Memorial Junior High School downtown, and that was on Lake Eola, and that's the 3-story brick building that I referred to. It was a lot of fun to work or to go to school there. We got to eat our lunch in the park in Lake Eola, and I recall trying to impress a young man one day, and we were flirting, and a bird dropped right on my nose as I was talking to him, and the humiliation could never be forgotten. The students were also from this area for high school were bused to Edgewater in College Park because there was no high school here either. When we went to Edgewater for the first 2 years, or 3 years, excuse me, we were told that we could graduate from that school, or we had a choice. They were building a new school in Pine Hills called Maynard Evans, and it was dedicated to a man named Maynard Evans, which is in the front of our yearbook. We elected, of course, to be the first graduating class in 1960, and we were one big happy family. We were grades 6 through 12, and because we were a smaller group, I think there were 150 in my graduating class. We were very tight socially and economically because most of our families worked at Martin Company, which was one of the reasons Pine Hills became established very fast. Martin relocated from Baltimore, Maryland, and a lot of their engineers and executives moved here and settled in the Pine Hills area. Beyond that, they built Robbinswood to accommodate those who wanted bigger homes, because the original homes were 2 to 3 bedroom, 1 bath homes with a carport, no garages. So when Robbinswood was developed, they put 2 carports in and 2 bathrooms, so that was quite uptown for us. We had some wood floors and some terrazzo floors and masonry construction. Nazarella Jennings was the builder who built most of the homes in the area. He's been gone for some time. The first graduating class was in 1960, and we were able to choose the colors for our school, the nickname. We chose the Trojans after the Trojans in California, whom we all admired, and we got to set the curriculum, not really the curriculum itself, but how the classes flowed, and we had young teachers who were not too much older than us, just out of college. So there was a really good, relaxed, fun atmosphere at the school. Most of us today, and I'm 70, are still in contact. My high school sweetheart, who is the man that I married, will be filming tomorrow, and his name is Russ Salerno. He is primarily one of the movers who helped to establish a memorial for my dad. His name is Max Wyman. He died some years ago. My mother went to Lockheed Martin, and worked there and retired from there, and so did my brother. My 2 brothers graduated from East Tennessee State University, and one coached at Meadowbrook Junior High, and one coached at Evans for football. They consequently, after that, moved on. One brother retired from Martin Lockheed, and the other one went into school administration. He's down in South Florida still working and teaching people how to be school administrators. SunTrust was the only bank here at that time, and it was First National. It wasn't SunTrust. They hired many of the residents in Pine Hills to work at Martin and some of the local banks and stores. There was a shopping center, the Pine Hills Shopping Center. It was about 1/4 the size it is now, and it's not very large now, but we thought it was pretty nice. There was a firehouse right off Pine Hills Road and 50, and the firemen liked to be nice to the teenagers. There wasn't a whole lot to do in the area, so they hosted Friday night dances, and we really looked forward to those. The Pine Hills Baptist Church was right across the street on Deauville Drive, and they had a lot of social activities for the teenagers in the area too. On 50, just west of Pine Hills Road, was the Pine Hills Movie Drive-In Theater. And oh my goodness, we had lots of fun going to the drive-in. We were known for sneaking kids in the trunk because we didn't have enough money to pay for everyone. There was probably more than one filling station, but not more than 2 or 3, and one of them was run by a gentleman named Al Tyndall. He was our next door neighbor and a very prominent man in boosting the community as well. He constantly had people in and out of his station and signs in his window. When we had the election for homecoming queen, he put my picture up that he was supporting me, even though he wasn't a high school student. So he had a good sense of humor too. We didn't have many schools. They developed Robins Hood Junior High several years later, and the St. Andrew's Catholic Church was there, but it was small and there was no Catholic school. The Silver Star was a 2-lane road, and so was Highway 50 and Pine Hills Road. Silver Star, however, had a huge hump in the middle. I guess it was for drainage. And when we would go to school on the bus seemed to lean so much that the people on the far side could almost reach out the window and touch the ground. And we used to joke about how easy it would be to just tip the bus over going to and from school. There was no air conditioning in either the schools, the churches, the homes. We didn't have it. We didn't know about it then. So we didn't miss it because we didn't know it. We walked everywhere. We walked to school. It was not uncommon to walk from my house on Hastings and 50 up to Evans High School on Silver Star. We didn't think anything about it. It gave us a chance to get to know each other better and to gossip. And that's what we thought about walking. There were no sidewalks. And the fire station I mentioned just off 50 was very friendly to the kids in the area. Pine Hills teenagers walked a lot. The doors to the homes were rarely locked, and car keys were left in the cars. At the filling stations, they actually pumped your gas for you and wiped the windshields for you, and that was a free service, so we expected that. My stepfather, Max, that I mentioned earlier, had run a trucking business when we relocated to Pine Hills, and he was interested in helping the local youth and procured a job with the boys' clubs. He started the Pine Hills Boys Club. He started the Pop Warner Football League. He had a huge influence on many of the local citizens who now are older, successful men, and there are many times that I myself have been in a particular establishment and his name will come up and they'll say, that man changed my life. Max Wyman was a very effective person with young people. When my 2 brothers and I left home, he and my mother took in 2 kids, teenagers from broken homes where they weren't wanted, and put them through high school and then got them scholarships to go to college. So he was definitely not a pretentious man. He loved to help people no matter what it took. His love for kids can be heard all around this community, and there are senators who remember him well, and even plumbers and electricians. He didn't have any particular preference for anybody's status in life. He just loved people in general, and especially children. He engaged my brothers and I in many fundraising activities to help the Boys Club make money, and he was therefore able to expand a lot on the facilities there. We worked full-time jobs, but it wasn't uncommon for him to drag us out in the evening or weekends to work across town at Pete Ashlock Stadium, which was the only place in town where huge circuses and rodeos and they even had a motocross lot across the street. And I remember getting up on a chilly 4:30 Sunday morning and be out there at 5:30 to start the motocross races. And of course, all this was volunteer. We didn't get paid. Pete Ashlock donated the money that we would be paid to the boys clubs. So we sold Christmas trees at Christmas time, and he made me pay for my own. I always thought that was funny. He won several blue ribbons for the boys clubs in the Central Florida Fair on canned foods and produce that he had helpers put together for him, and he was always proud of those. He also went down to the southwest area of Orlando and helped them to originate a boys club down there. They loved him, and little boys would run and grab his leg and call him Daddy Max. He was very popular. There was an atmosphere of friendliness all around the area. I don't think there was much crime at all. I don't remember any. Roy Brand, who apparently has just done an interview, had the only insurance agency in the area, and everybody put their insurance with Roy. I've had insurance policies with him since I was 17, and he just retired recently, so I now have a new insurance man at Hiawassee Road and Silver Star. I still live in the Pine Hills area on an acre property next to a famous singer named Thomas McCleary, who is one of the Commodores and wrote Brick House. So we do have a lot of popular people in Pine Hills that have attained a lot in life and still living in the area. Dr. Dan Steele was the local dentist, and he wasn't much older than most of us kids, and he was on Deauville Drive. He lives out in Windermere now. Most of the houses I mentioned earlier were small and had carports, not garages, no air conditioning. Many of the school coaches and presidents, CPAs, and other professionals would join together with the West Orlando Optimist Club or through them and help raise money for the area for the Evans High School football field. My dad, Max Wyman, was the leader to get Evans a football field. When we moved into the school facilities, there were 3 classroom buildings and 1 small gymnasium for basketball, but nothing for football. So we were able to achieve that through my dad and the other gentleman's help. Until the past several years, Pine Hills was not a multicultural area. It was mainly based on the people who worked at the company down at Martin, and a few people who worked in government work lived down in this area. Most of the houses were built in the early 50s, and they were masonry construction. And the only serious hurricane to affect this area that I can remember was Hurricane Donna, and that occurred in the fall of 1960. I remember it clearly because I was going to University of Florida for my first year. I was so excited. And at that time, they had S&H green stamps, and my mom had diligently saved hers to get me a special hamper for my dorm room. The hurricane was headed our way, and we've been warned for everybody to stay inside when she jumped in the car and drove down 50 past the fairgrounds to where the S&H green stamp store was to get my hamper. And my father was pacing the floor, cussing the whole time she was gone. We didn't dream she'd make it home safely, but I got my hamper and my mother back home too. Pine Hills attained the name because the developer determined that we're elevated higher than any other part of the city or anything else in the county at the time. So they decided to call it the Hills, Pine Hills, because there's so many pine trees. That's basically what I know about Pine Hills. There's probably a lot more in my memory, but I'm sure you'll get a lot of information from your other interviewees.
Thank you so much. One last thing. Can you tell us what is your favorite thing about living in this area?
Actually, surprisingly, it's the road system. And I did work for the City of Orlando Traffic Engineering Department, so I have a little bit of background in road building and construction and facility. Everybody that talks about Orlando and the road problems does not live on the west side, because we were the first ones to get 6-lane roads on Highway 50, on Pine Hills Road, on Hiawassee, on all of and be close to access to the East-West Expressway, and consequently a short trip up Colonial would take you to the interstate. And we just, the rest of the town didn't enjoy that. My father-in-law is a retired doctor who lives in Rio Pinar Country Club on the east side, and every time I go over there, my temper goes up for the traffic, because going over is not too bad, but if you want to come back towards Pine Hills from the other side of town, the east side is horrible for traffic, always backed up. So that's something that a lot of people take for granted, that we're very lucky that they actually use this area first to develop traffic and then moved on to the other parts of the county and so forth after that.
Thank you.
Also, I just love the people. I think we have the friendliest people in the whole county. I really do. If you smile at them, they never fail to smile back.